Well, if you notice this year, there's a new guy on the scene, Frank Tucker and Crib Media. What you've done this year is amazing. I mean, you get an opportunity to look at a lot of films, see a lot of kids.
It started with rankings. That kind of built up the website and the Twitter account. Been to so many games and talked to so many coaches.
To come up with guys like that, like you did this year, and putting your team together, it's not easy because obviously you're going to offend people because of the fact they go, well, I play better than them. But what's the criteria?
The first thing is talking to coaches, who they played and who's on their team and who are some star players that they played against that were special. Then obviously stats come into it. A lot of these coaches send in stats and then obviously huddle. Highlight tapes are essential because you have to see how the kids play. And I think that's really how I'm able to create a first and second team that I feel stacks up pretty much anybody.
Let's take a look at some of the offense. Let's look at quarterbacks.
Well, first off, you have to go Scooter Morrison. Booker T. Washington, 3,500 yards so far. Obviously, it's going to go up probably at States. And then Jalen Tolbert from Hialeah, 2021 kid, had a great year. Threw for 39 touchdowns, which I thought was extremely impressive. Helped that Hialeah team make the playoffs.
Running backs?
You got to go with the two big ones right now, the two 2,000-yard kids. You go Henry Parrish from Columbus, had a great year. If I had a player of the year, you'd probably be that. And then you go Thaddeus Franklin. They're a 3A school, but they don't play like the 3A school. And then they play a pretty hectic schedule. He hit 2,000 yards on the year, over 20 touchdowns, so you got to give it to those two kids.
Got some receivers, I mean, no doubt. I mean, you can go anywhere with those.
But you got to go Ja'Cory Brooks, that tandem of Booker T. It's incredible. 1,000-yard receiver. I think he has 17 touchdowns on the year. Highlight plays the whole entire season. Then you go Deshawn Mcdougald from Deerfield Beach. Just hit over 2,000 yards on his career. He's playing at a school where there's talent all around him. To put up stats like almost 1,000 yards in the year is pretty special. And a kid that you have to mention is Jacoby George out of Plantation. They run a wing T offense, so they don't traditionally have a 1,000-yard receiver. He had 46 catches, 1,000 yards, 17 touchdowns on the year. So an exceptional year out of a tough offense. You got to mention him. First kid every coach seems to mention is Chris Love out of American Heritage. USF commit. Kid just, every game I go to, he's a pancake machine. Just Marquette State and University School. Clemson commit. Great kid, humble. Marcus Dumerville out of St. Thomas Aquinas. You have to mention that kid. And he's committed to the University of Florida. And then you got Andre Yamas from Columbus High School. He's the anchor of that offensive line that's kind of led the way back-to-back 2,000-yard seasons. After Yamas, you got to go to Big Baby Seymour out of Central. He's the anchor for that offensive line that has three backs, phenom-type kid, and probably the most talented offensive lineman in South Florida.
Tight end. I mean, we have a few down here. Anybody stick out in that first?
Khalil Brantley. He plays a lot of receiver for Miami Northwestern, but he's able to go in the line. He's able to hit in the slot. And he's a big kid, headed to the University of Miami. So I had over 600 receiving yards this year.
Guys who are athletes on the team.
You got to start off with Xavier Restrepo. Xavier Restrepo, since he was at Monarch, has been one of those kids that can play offense, defense, help you in the return game. He had over 300 yards receiving this year, was a starting safety for Deerfield to a team that almost made it to the state championship. And then you go Brandon Innes from the University School. 800 receiving yards. Amazing. Over 10 touchdowns receiving, and then over 4 interceptions in defense. That he's also a kick returner.
Who's the first team kicker?
Andreas Boriegas from Chaminade, Madonna. 3 over 50-yard kicks this year. Headed to the University of Miami. He's just the best kicker in the nation, probably. Yeah. So he's got to go on that first team. And then a kid nobody really talks about because he's a punter is Danny Panchukian. Almost 40-yard average on his punts, one of the top punters in the state. Also plays receiver.
The first team defense on the All-Crib Media team for 2019.
Yeah, so we did 2 edge rushers. Shamar Montprevel from Stranahan, 28 sacks on the year. Verified by multiple coaches. He had 17 last year, so he's just one of those kids that comes off that edge. Probably the best defensive player in South Florida. You got to go Derek Wingo. 14 sacks in the year, and he doesn't even play into the second half of most games. He's one of the nicest kids I've ever come across as well. We went Dallas Turner from American Heritage Plantation. A young kid, but 16 sacks on the year, 4-star player. He's legit, and he's probably the best player on that American Heritage team that features so many Division I kids. And then you got Leonard Taylor from Miami Palmetto, and then you got also Savion Collins from Palmetto.
Both juniors.
Yeah, both juniors, and 300 pounds, runs a 4.8 40. They anchored one of the best defenses in South Florida. They stopped everybody from running anything.
Linebacking core, we always have good ones here.
Yeah. So you got Donnell Harris, who plays some outside linebacker. 19 sacks on the year. Then you go Ruben Hippolyte from MacArthur, transfer from American Heritage, had over 100 tackles this year, 8 sacks. Maryland commit. Terrence T2 Lewis from Miami Northwestern Junior, one of the top 50 recruits in the country, over 100 tackles in the year. Plays so fast, can come off the edge, can drop into coverage, can do anything you need him to do. Ronald Parker from Coral Gables, one of my favorite players
Under the radar, kid.
Yeah, one of my favorite players in South Florida, wears number 9 for Coral Gables. Over 140 tackles in the year, 10 sacks, a couple touchdowns.
Secondary, any time, any year, you could pick kids in the defensive secondary and they'll probably be playing in the NFL in 4 years.
Colby Dempsey from St. Thomas was the most impressive defensive back to me, bar none. Had over 4 touchdowns on the year. He had 9 interceptions, I believe, including a couple nights ago. Yeah, and then you go Kevin Nowells from MacArthur, also one of those anchors of that defense. Had 6 interceptions, underclassmen, Bama offers, things like that. Going to be one of those big-time kids that come out of South Florida. And then you got Ronald Delancey from Miami Northwestern. And then at free safety, you got Cameron Kinchins. So impressive, so smooth. 10 interceptions on the year, which is extremely impressive as a junior. Just one of those kids at Miami Northwestern that's going to be special as well. And then at strong safety, you go James Williams. Every game I went to, the kid had multiple turnovers. And he's 6'4", 230 pounds, looks like a defensive end, plays like a corner.
Obviously a stacked first team on the All-Crib 2019 All-Star team. Coach Frank Tucker will reveal the second team coming up on defense. So much talent in South Florida. No matter who it is, everybody's going to say this guy or that guy should make it. But Coach Tucker has been around. He's seen them all.